You're ready to make a purchase. Should you use a debit card or a credit card? Is there even a difference between the two? Yes, there are quite a few differences between debit cards and credit cards, and their differences can impact your personal finances. So stay tuned so that the next time you do make a purchase, you can confidently answer the question, will that be debit or credit? Let's start with debit cards and their main features. Debit cards are linked to your checking account at the bank. When you make a purchase, money is going to be transferred out of your account. You can also use a debit card to withdraw money at an ATM, and you're likely going to be using a PIN number when making transactions. For example, 1234. But probably don't use that PIN number because that's a little too easy for somebody else to figure out. Now, debit cards can be used most places that credit cards are accepted, and they offer liability protection in case you lose your card or it's stolen. And your coverage is going to be based on the terms of that specific card. And you also may be subject to some fees when using a debit card. And the main one might be if you overdraft your account. So think of a debit card as direct access to your checking account when you want to make a purchase. You will want to know how much money is in your checking account when you're out making purchases, because if you don't have enough money, your purchase may be denied, and you may also be subject to fees, that overdraft fee that I was talking about. So when would you want to use a debit card? Since a debit card is tied directly to your checking account, your spending is going to be limited to what you have in the account. So this is beneficial, and one of the best reasons to use a debit card is because it helps you stay on budget. And it also prevents you from taking on any additional debt. And speaking of debt, now let's take a look at credit cards and their main features. A credit card is a line of credit to borrow money for purchases. All money borrowed must be paid back to the credit card company. The credit card's likely going to have a spending limit, for example, $5,000. And if you don't pay the balance in full at the end of the billing cycle, you're likely going to be subject to high interest charges. And this is the cost of borrowing. When you use a credit card, it does help you build credit history. And most credit cards are going to be accepted in the same places that debit cards are accepted. And they also offer liability protection for a lost or stolen card. And again, that's going to be subject to the exact terms of that card. And credit cards do also have fees for certain transactions. So think of a credit card as a short-term loan to make a purchase. When you swipe your card, the credit card company is covering that purchase for you. They are sending money to the vendor. After that, you must pay the credit card company back because you are now on the hook since they covered your purchase. Now, if you do not pay your credit card off in full at the end of each billing cycle, that's when you'll have to pay interest. And interest can cause the amount you owe to grow over time. With all that being said, when would you want to use a credit card? The key with credit cards is that you want to use them responsibly. You want to be able to pay off the balance in full at the end of each billing cycle. You also want to be able to control your spending and stay on budget. That's if you decide to use a credit card. One thing you want to avoid when using credit cards is thinking, I will just pay it off next month. Because 1 month of not making a full payment can lead to 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. You can see where this is going. If you have trouble staying on budget, then consider using a debit card instead of a credit card. In summary, a debit card is linked to your checking account. It transfers money out when you make a purchase. you can use it to withdraw money from an ATM, and you're going to be using a PIN number. And it's usually going to be accepted anywhere that credit cards are also accepted. And cards will offer liability protection if it's lost or stolen, and you may be subject to fees for certain transactions. And you want to use a debit card if you are trying to stay on budget and if you want to avoid taking on debt. A credit card, on the other hand, is a line of credit to borrow money. All the money borrowed has to be paid back at some point. Cards will usually have a spending limit, for example, $5,000, and a balance not paid in full may be subject to high interest charges. You use a credit card if you want to help build your credit history, and credit cards also have liability protection in case it's lost or stolen. And there may also be fees with certain transactions. And you want to use credit cards if you're trying to build your credit history, and also if you can use them responsibly. That's the key with credit cards. You now know the difference between debit cards and credit cards. Next time you make a purchase, you can now confidently answer the question, will that be debit or credit? For more personal finance content, please check out our website and YouTube channel. As a reminder, this video is provided for general education purposes only. It is not intended to provide financial advice specific to your situation.